Question: for the many reasons you point out daily, I believe we are in a different and more mature Bitcoin and digital asset era compared to previous cycles. That is for sure. Are there any ways the current hype and enthusiasm and up-only statements we are witnessing remind you of the fall of 2021? Please explain things that keep your head out of the window and for how. So when SurfSat says head out the window, that's my view of always look at the macro, look at what's going on in the world, the greater picture. It's critical when you're investing. First of all, I'm going to turn off my little camera, but this is kind of my bull thesis, which is based very much on money flows and supply and demand. So BlackRock has bought 750,000 Bitcoin in 18 months, give or take a month. Sailor has bought 420,000 Bitcoin in 18 months. Okay, these two alone have purchased 5x the supply. 5x the supply. Okay, that means we're going over 2 cycles. Okay, and the next cycle, it'll be half the supply. So this asset is getting harder by the day, and more treasuries are coming, and the more money printing is coming too, and rate cuts are coming as well. By the way, I saw a stat just last night that there's nearly 80% chance or more of a double rate cut in September. That's 50 basis points. When that happens, things will kick off. And again, I'll reiterate my target back in 2023 for this bull run was 119K. So we got there. The question is, can we go further? We'll look at that too. But behind the scenes, just analyzing wallets, this is one of the many wallets that I look at and observe. They've bought 4,000 Bitcoin in 15 days. Okay. And this is what I call Mrs. 200. There was a lot of talk about Mr. 100 for a long time, but this is Mrs. 200. And they used to buy 200 at a clip. Now, Mrs. 200 is buying 500, 680, 800, 400, 500, 356, 570, 236, 300, like pretty much every single day. And this is since the beginning of August. Again, 4,000 Bitcoin. And they're building a big bag. I don't know who this is. Is it a nation state? I don't know. It's not a Sailor wallet. That's for sure. It's not an ETF wallet. It's something different. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting, and this from Martoon, great posts by this guy, and I had the same spidey sense too, but he normally doesn't buy on a Monday. But this week we had a big spike. We went from 116K to 124K in hours, everybody, hours. And Martoon believes, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Sailor was behind it. We know Sailor has bought. He gave us the bat signal this morning. So Sailor has bought Bitcoin. How much? I don't know. How much stretch can he issue? I don't know. Is there infinite demand for stretch? We'll talk about that as well in a minute. If so, there could be a lot that could be bought this week. We'll find out tomorrow morning, and I'll post about it in Patreon the minute it comes out. Now, the other macro tailwinds, again, I'll mention. Money printing is coming. People saying, oh, money printing, it doesn't float all boats. Hell yeah, it does. Absolutely does. 80% correlation. And rate cuts are coming. That last time rate cuts came, a 25 basis point cut came, Bitcoin went up 40%. And then a 25 basis point came after that, Bitcoin went up 45%. That combined move is 100%. Not saying we're going to get that again, but that's what happens when rates get cut. People go risk on, money gets deployed. Okay. So where do we go from here? I'm not sure, but either way, it's a different cycle. It's a very, very different cycle. So let me try to sum up where we are comparing the cycles. So this time around, it is a bona fide asset class. We have ETFs, we have treasury adoption, etc. And the billions coming in are insane. Billions and billions. 2021 was all retail driven and it was manipulated by bad actors. So you can scratch that. Think more like 2017, except it's a real asset class and tons of money is coming in and the asset's much harder. Also, the inflation and market conditions are different. 2021, we saw the CPI spike late in the year, and 2022, aggressive Fed rates hiking, and that destroyed the Bitcoin price action. Remember, interest rates cut both ways. When they raise the rates, it hammers risk assets. When they cut the rates, it inflates risk assets. So the question is, what's coming next? We know rate cuts are coming. So it's different from that perspective too. In addition, the other big difference is Bitcoin is a lot less volatile than previous cycles. It's shockingly less volatile. Amazingly so. And on-chain, We see a decrease in short-term holder supply that I watch very carefully. And it looks like the short-term holders are pretty exhausted. They're done selling, and so are the long-term holders too. And this cycle resembles 2013 and 2017. So if you want to look at charts to compare, ignore 2021. That's just my 2 cents from a guy on the internet. Thank you for the great question. I like the way you think. Now, the most important thing, though, is what I call the top and bottom indicator. This is my ejector seat where I hedge. I don't have, I won't talk about that. You don't talk about that. But basically, what's interesting about this particular chart now is I have the top and bottom indicator. That's the colorful chart. Blue is the Bitcoin price action. And I also have the 200-day moving average. And if we go back to 2017, 2018, you can see when Bitcoin spiked, when it went red, the price action was 4 to 5 times the 200-day moving average. And then in 2021, it was over 3 times the moving average, the 200-day moving average. And now we are just 18% above the 200-day moving average, which tells me we are not overheated. And the Tabby model also says we are just orange, which is kind of like a little bit more than middle of the road, level 4. We still have to hit level 5 and level 6, which is dark orange and red. We are nowhere near that. So things are very hunky-dory, calm, and we're just trucking along. But there is a little bit of maybe, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but it did have me concerned last night. They meet the new head of the WEF, the interim head, who actually has, he is the biggest money runner in the world, and the IBIT Bitcoin ETF has 750,000 Bitcoin. So I know in the past, I am not a fan of the WEF. I believe in freedom, and I believe in small things. But this is, WEF historically is a billionaire only club. They have plans around vaccine passports and digital IDs and central bank digital currencies. The old slogan, you'll own nothing and be happy. By the way, we'll talk more about that and AI and what could happen in the future. It is pretty scary. When you put all the pieces together, it's not hard to forecast where we're actually going. A Danish WEF member said, we should all share cars, maybe share underpants too. Fantastic. Then there's a lot of talk about the Great Reset and leveraging things like C-19 disasters as an extreme opportunity to push extreme changes. That's freaking terrifying. And again, maybe I'm being unnecessarily paranoid. Maybe Larry wants to change the WEF to being a better organization. But I do know they have their claws deep in a lot of the leadership, places like Canada, place like Denmark, place like UK, and other places. So I'm hoping, I was thinking, is this a mistake? Is this really happening? Anyway, I hope I'm wrong, just being paranoid. But always be paranoid and always be learning.